Okay, welcome back. This is going to be part two of breaking the cycles because I did not consider something. In my last video, I made arguments of breaking cycles that are physical, things that you have to very intentionally do. And my sister made actually a pretty crappy counter argument, but it made me realize I did not address something, and that is cycles that are under the skin. So we're talking about psychological disorders. Um, so here's another uncomfortable story time. When I was a kid, my mom was abusive, physically, emotionally, mentally, because she was a broken person. And she was a broken person because my grandma was a broken person. And she was a broken person, and so on and so on and so on. You get the drift. So I developed the same terrible temper that my mom had. I inherited her her depression, her bipolar disorder, all of these things. And my sister, who, let's just say she's not all there, um, was blaming her not being there on watching my mom and learning that cycle of internal hatred. And I'm here to tell you yet again, you're not defined by that stuff. You're not. Just plain and simple, you're not defined by those things. Because I don't deal with those problems anymore. I don't have emotional swings, which are common for bipolar 1, manic depression. I don't really deal with depression that badly anymore. Like, I have good days and then I just have days. And every once in a while, I'll deal with depression, but I've learned how to use depression to figure out something that's going on internally. You can check that last video that I posted earlier today about exploring your dark side. And it is incredibly important to do it because your dark side is your shadow trying to tell you something. So if you're depressed, it means that you are subconsciously depressed. Your shadow is depressed. And self, which is this conglomeration of uh, shadow and ego, uh, recognizes it as depression or expresses it through depression that your shadow is upset about something. So you have options. You can either be depressed and do nothing about it, take some pills, which aren't going to actually fix anything, they're just going to numb you. Or you can actually communicate with your shadow. You can figure out what's bothering it and start addressing the root cause of your issues. If you're depressed, consult your shadow. Figure out why your shadow is sad. If you're ill-tempered, well, talk to your shadow. Figure out why your shadow has no patience. If you're bipolar, it means that your shadow's just bouncing around off the walls. Ask it what it needs to stay still. It's not an excuse. My sister uses it as an excuse, but I grew up with the same mom. So it's really one of those situations that goes back to the last video. There's a story about, I don't know if it's true or not, it could just be a parable. Not even a parable. An anecdote of two sons who have an alcoholic father who is abusive. And the one son, learns those behaviors from their father and they grow up to be an abusive alcoholic. Whereas the other son learned a lesson to not be like their father, grows up to be a peaceful, sober human being. and you're perfectly capable of doing that. It is by and large a matter of choice. You may not be able to choose that you're going through things. I don't choose to go through depression every once in a while. But what I can choose is how I deal with it. I can choose to communicate with my shadow. I can choose to help lift my animus out of the dark and bring it into a place that is lighter. Now, I'm not saying that my world is as bright as a million suns. It's not brilliant. But you can choose not to live in the muck. And transversely, that means that you also choose to live in the muck. So, yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and correct that, because that's right. I did not address emotional cycles, psychological cycles. In that last video, I was only addressing physical things. But now we have the whole thing. I've addressed both. We're rounded. So yeah, if you have any questions, any comments, just leave them down below. If you have suggestions for topics that you want me to cover, also leave those in the comments below. If you're feeling like generous, maybe give this video a like and give the channel a subscribe. I mean, I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying the option's there. If not, whatever. Until next time, y'all, just be notorious.